The Herodians are always linked with the Pharisees. They're never linked with the Sadducees. And so that probably reflects like the agreement regarding political objectives. So nationalism as opposed to submission to the yoke of Roman oppression rather than philosophy or religious beliefs.
The Pharisees, we know that they were popular. They were a popular movement. They came from all over, and they therefore were different people from different runs of life. And they were kind of a cross-section of society, very much into what they considered righteous behaviour. They're the ones that Jesus would be the closest he would have agreed with. That's half the problem, isn't it? They're so closely aligned, it's almost like trying to tell the difference between two enemies that became allies in a war. It's like, hang on, why so much vehemence?
The caricature, if you like, of the Pharisees is that they were guardians of religiosity. They were guardians of the rules, they were guardians of the regulations. If you referred to somebody as a Pharisee, it was generally not a kind thing. They were often seen as hypocritical or self-righteous or zealous or something like that. And Jesus' engagement was much more nuanced than that. And what he did was he pulled them up, not for being Pharisees, he pulled them up for being blinkered. You'll apply the letter of the law, but what about the spirit of it? These weren't bad people. What he's trying to do is to get them to actually be a bit more liberal. So at the time of Jesus, there were two main schools. There was a school of Shammai and the school of Hillel. And Shammai was much, much stricter. And Hillel was much more liberal in terms of back then, not liberal in our understanding of liberal, but in terms back then, in their sort of temporal reality, it was much more liberal. And 8 occasions where Jesus is having engagements, he aligns himself on 7 of those occasions with the school of Hillel, which is the liberal school, and only once with the school of Shammai, which is the much more rigid, zealous one. And that's about marriage and adultery. So Jesus' whole approach was not pushing the purity theme for national Israel, which is what the Pharisees were doing, i.e. the Perashim, meaning they were the ones that were set apart. That's where we get the word Pharisee from, that they're set apart. Jesus is saying, no, you don't need to be set apart as a Pharisee. What you need to be is salt and light. You need to shine the light into darkness. You need to be the seasoning and the flavouring that goes onto the food. Be salt and light into the world. So his whole approach was slightly different. His engagement with the Pharisees was generally very similar.